seeing the Brahmanical reaction. And we also have seen the counterpoint of Brahmanical reaction. Different historians, they interpret in a different way. So that's why these many variations are coming in decline theories. Next one, give the heading. Pacifist policy of Ashoka. We are continuing the causes for the decline theories. Second one, pacifist policy of Ashoka. And the author of this is H.C. Roy Choudhury. H.C. Roy Choudhury. And according to him, he says, I will explain points. I will dictate the points. Before that, I'll just explain. He says, after Kalinga war, he became Buddhist monk, and later he did not use the army for any war. And he is not a person who stayed in the power only for 1 year or 2 years. But he was there in power for a very long time. Around, suppose, 268 Ashoka reign, if we consider. 268 BC, he came to the power. And he stayed up to 232 BC. And somewhere in 261 BC, Kalinga war took place. And he stayed in the power for a very long time. Now you see 61 to 31, almost 30 years. And for 30 years, an army without any war, it degenerates, the preparedness of the army goes down, and soldiers also will not be that active. Soldiers generally become active only when there is work. For soldier, what is the work? Only war. That is why, according to this interpretation, H.C. Roy Choudhury says, and because of pacifist policy of Ashoka, military became weak, and after, just you see, after 232 BC, in another few decades, by 185 BC, completely Mauryan Empire got decimated, just replaced by Shunga dynasty. But much before 185 BC, there must be invasions. So around 200 BC onwards, invasions might be active in the northwestern frontier. That means within another 3 decades, the visibility of military weakness came. That is what Roy Choudhury says. Within few decades, military got weakened. As a result, invasions took place. That is the exact counter. During Ashoka time period, there was no invasion. And it happened after Ashoka, and that too after 2-3 decades of Ashoka. That means these rulers are weak rulers. Had there been strong rulers, these invasions might not have taken place. Yes. So that means, even though he did not conduct the major war, but he is practical person. He was making army active, and also he was always giving the warnings to those people who are violating the state authority. Even for the tribal people in Northwest, Northwest is always troublesome. And even before he became the ruler, when Bindusara was there, Takshila people revolted against Mauryans. And when Bindusara was the emperor, he sent Ashoka to deal with this situation. Initially, Ashoka was posted in Ujjain in central province. Later, because of the conditions in Takshila, he was posted there and he handled the situation actively. Once again, even during Ashoka time period also, once again, Takshila people complained. There, he warned both tribal people also, as well as he gave instructions to the government officials also, treat the people very humanely for the government instructions. At the same time, he gave warnings to the people also that don't create any disturbances, otherwise you will face the consequences. So these kind of instructions give the practical nature of Ashoka. That's why we cannot simply say that because of only one reason. No doubt, the military got weakened, but it cannot be the sole reason. Similarly, Brahmanical reaction also cannot be the sole reason. And this is how H.C. Rai Chaudhary expected that because of this pacifist policy, because he himself says Dhamma Gosha, he replaced Bheri Gosha with Dhamma Gosha. The drum of war replaced with drum of sound of Dhamma. So that shows these are the things which H.C. Rai Chaudhary interpreted. Now you write. Yes. According to H.C. Rai Chaudhary, write few points. According to H.C. Rai Chaudhary, Ashoka's pacifist policy has been seen as responsible, for the decline of the Mauryan Empire. Counter argument. Ashoka was a pragmatic ruler. Even though he adopted Dhamma Gosha in place of Beri Gosha, he did not disband army. Had he been complete pacifist, he would have disbanded army. Why unnecessary? So much economic resource required for maintaining army. He could have used that money also for propagating Dhamma, but he did not do that. He did not disband the army. Next point. He did not abolish capital punishment. He did not abolish capital punishment. Full stop. He was also giving stern warnings to the people who create disturbances. Particularly particularly the tribal groups in northwest frontier. And you can see northwest part is always troublesome, then also, now also. And if you, in post-independence time period also, when Kashmir became part of Indian Union, instrument of accession, and initially he was in dilemma whether to join India or to be remain independent. What happened? Pakistan government or military, you can say, infiltrated the tribal people of Pakistan northwest frontier to Jammu and Kashmir. Now you can think in 1947 is itself this is the condition, and even today also that is the same. This is the most one of the troublesome areas in the entire world. And that time only swords, but now Pakistan is having nuclear weapons also. Now it is more dangerous. This is always a problematic because it is the connecting point for many areas, a very strategic location. Obviously. So that is how international state politics goes on. Now you got 3 points. Yes. So this is first cartographic war takes place, then real war comes. He did not disband the army, tribal warnings he gave, and capital punishment also continued. Could be. Because when there is no necessity of going for war, then military, whatever equipment, whatever the technology, they might not improve it. That is also one of the reasons. But all it depends on some part on Ashoka responsibility, and major responsibility goes to the weak rulers. However, that's why we are going to give this balanced conclusion. However, a long reign marked by only one military campaign. Long reign marked by only one military campaign in the early years of Ashoka. Early years of Ashoka may have affected the preparedness of the army and this may have been a factor responsible for the success of the Greek invasion. Who are staying there at present now? Indo-Greeks. Seleucus Nicator this side, Chandragupta Maurya. After Seleucus Nicator, after Bindusara. After Bindusara Ashoka, Seleucus, the successors of Seleucus, Greeks, Indo-Greeks. Now they are looking for expansion. It was the age of expansion. Whenever the neighboring country is weak, the country look for expansion of the territories. Next one. Third one. Third. Romila Tapar argues it's a multiple factors, resources, particularly resources crunch. Romila Thapar argues that Mauryas were not able to strengthen their resource base by expanding agriculture, because vast areas of peninsula did not experience plough-based agriculture. Did not experience plough-based agriculture during Mauryan rule. Mauryan state requires, in that only, the Mauryan state requires huge resources for maintaining a strong standing army, and a huge number of officials for running the administration. Therefore, financial crisis must have affected the strength of the Mauryan Empire. So this is according to her thesis. Now there are some other factors also. Financial crisis. So first one, Brahmanical reaction. Second, pacifist. Next, financial. Next one, oppressive rule. Oppressive rule, 2 points. According to this theory, there was no specific scholar. According to this theory, oppressive rule in the provinces, oppressive rule in the provinces was an important cause for the breakup of the empire. For the broadly, Mauryan Empire was divided into at least 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 different provinces. And this part was directly under the state. If you observe this, Takshila later it was conquered by Indo-Greeks. And later this one, Satavahanas. And this one, who? Karavela. And anyway, this side is Sangam kingdoms, already outside Mauryan Empire. Sangam kingdoms.
Sangam kingdoms didn't accept Ashoka as their ruler lords. They did not they did not pay any worship, but they accepted Ashoka as their overlord. I read somewhere. That's why they did that. That's why the Ashoka Empire did not conquer Sangam kingdom, because they were ready to
submit to Ashoka. I did not read. In his inscription, he says that our neighbors, we should not go for, or my intention is not to conquer our neighbors with force. So that is why he said, that means he mentioned that our neighbors like Chola, Chera, Pandya. So that is how this particular sentence gives the reading that these kingdoms are outside his, because he mentioned the West Asian countries also, he mentioned these also as the neighbors. That means they are not part of the Mauryan Empire. And definitely he would have, if he wants, he would have conquered, because they are not strong comparing with the Mauryan Empire. But he maintained, that is how he wanted peaceful relations with the neighboring. These already there. This Suvarnagiri became Satavahana's later. Toshali province becomes Karavela kingdom. Then Ujjain. For Shungas, this is one of the important areas. And they conquered this also. And finally, almost the northern part and central part becomes part of Shunga Empire. Pushyamitra Shunga. And this one, Greeks. So these are different provinces. According to this, even though if you give instructions from central government, suppose even today also, Delhi gives some kind of instructions to these areas, but local factors dominate the everyday day-to-day life. And if the local chief minister or local officers are not kind enough to the local population, obviously it affects the local population and also local administration. Gradually, it affects the central government also. Manipur violence we are seeing. This way, the provinces' oppressive rule is one of the reasons that, and they wanted to break away from the main central government. Next point. In the reign of Bindusara, one example, one evidence we will give. In the reign of Bindusara, the citizens of Takshila, the citizen of Takshila bitterly complained against the misrule of Dushta Amatyas, bad bureaucrats. Dushta Amatyas. You can bracket wicked bureaucrats. Wicked bureaucrats. Their grievances were addressed by the appointment of Ashoka. Their grievances were addressed by the appointment of Ashoka. Full stop. This is during Bindusara. Next point. But when Ashoka became emperor, similar kind of complaint was made by the people of Takshila. Okay, this is one example. Second example, in Kalinga also, similar kind of complaint was there. The Kalinga edicts show that Ashoka was much concerned. About oppression in the provinces. And therefore asked the Mahamattas not to tyrannize TARR, sorry. TY. Double N. TYRANNIZ. Tyrannize the townsmen without due cause. Without due cause. That means without any proper cause also, these officers must be creating terror in the minds of the people. And this is during Ashoka time period itself. That means some kind of oppressive rule was there. Otherwise, you cannot maintain this much big empire also. But at the same time, Ashoka gave instruction to the officers that not to tyrannize. Now, what is the solution during Ashoka time period? He will not give the post for one officer for a very long time in this particular area only. He used to rotate. Similarly, today also, IAS officers keep rotating. And if IAS officers are staying in only one particular district for a very long time, and they will become very powerful. And it goes against the unity, integrity of the country. And that is why central government used to keep on shift or rotate the officers. Last point. As part of solution, Ashoka introduced rotation system of officers in Kalinga, Ujjain, and Takshila. However, after Ashoka, all these attempts failed. And these provinces took the opportunity of weak rulers at Pataliputra to throw off the imperial yoke. This is one fact. Next one. And it is also, the next point is similar to something in British Empire in modern time period. In 1750 and between 1750 to 1800, why India became colonized, and after 1900, why India became independent. What is the difference? How our Indian society was there in 18th century and how it changed by 20th century.
Concept of India wasn't in a different mode. Like Rani Lakshmibai was the Bandopadhy. They obviously fought for their motherland, but they did not fight for India. They fought for Jhansi, they fought for Satara, they fought for Nagpur.
Yes, very good.
But in 1900, if we come, the Congress or the whatever the party fought, like Wahhabi or Muslim League in the Muslim, they fought for a common nation and against a common foe, not against different ones. And also they fought against themselves, but that did not lead to any bloodshed or did not have so much of a definite position.
Nationalism. So nationalism is one factor that was missing in 1750s, but that there in 20th century. And second one, whatever the Western ideals, the Western education introduced the Western ideals also. And there was even one question in our optional that we broke the British chains with the same hammers introduced by the British. The Western education introduced democracy, introduced liberty, introduced equality. Now the British or English educated Indians wanted same kind of treatment. When Britain is also king or queen, he or she is ruling. Geographically, this land is also under one king. This land is also under one king. This land is also under one king. That means this is also ruled by same king. This is also ruled by same king. But the way these people are treated, different, and the treatment of these people is different. When English education came, this is what people questioned. When you are also there, when we are also there, when we both were ruled by the same king, why two different treatments? This is the same problem with respect to American colonies also. American colonies also said, no taxation without representation. We are also part of king. We are also subject of the king. You Britain people also subject of the king. If king wants anything from American colonies, he can take. We don't have any objection. But parliament don't have any role. That parliament, because we Americans are not represented in your parliament, that means you don't have any right to impose the taxes.
So also the taxes are imposed because these are like now stamp tax, like postal stamp taxes. Number of windows also are they used to pay tax like this. More than 2 windows they have to pay a bit of tax and tea tax was there.
So that is how they have seen it as oppressive, and moreover that, more than that oppression, their main concern was who is imposing the tax. It is not the king, it is the parliament. But in that parliament, Americans are not there. Exactly. That is why colonies, what they say, up to certain time, colonies submit to the imperial authority. But once they are awakened and they are enlightened, and they also get the same technology and the same new ideas. With the same ideas, imperialism used to flourish in ignorant areas. But if the colonies also get the same idea, so it is like they are like fruits. Till the time they are ripen, they will be hanging to the imperial yoke. Later they will fall off. Same is the case with Africa also, India also, many other countries in the world. And this is with respect to modern times. Because this time nationalism concept is very strong, and you are a different nation, we are a different nation. But in ancient times, these are the kingdoms. The concept of India is about to emerge. Gradually it is taking time. At this point of time, Ujjain kingdom is equally different from Avanti, Vassa kingdom. During Mahajanapada time period, we were having 16 Mahajanapadas. That means there are 16 different countries. people used to consider this as separate country, this as separate country, this as separate country. This nationalism that from Kashmir to this area it belongs to same country is the feeling of 20th century. And culturally we were always united. Since ancient times, even though politically we were not united most of the time, but culturally we were united. But politically, this is equally enemy to this area also. This is equally enemy to this area also. Yes. In 1857, now you can yourself saying, even in 1857 itself, the feeling of this is not entrenched into the public common mind. We were always attached to the king rather than this concept of India politically. But culturally we were. Culturally, the people who are living here, Kashi is equally important. And for people who are living here, Rameshwaram is equally important. That means for Uttar Pradesh people and Tamil Nadu people, they are culturally, emotionally connected in terms of culture. But when it comes to the 1857 revolt, these areas were crushed by the British from the same soldiers brought from here. Madras regiment, Bombay regiment, from these regiments only they were gone, and Sikh regiment, Nepali regiments. That is why politically we were different, culturally we were emotionally connected. And this cultural emotional connect only helped the later leaders to politically unify also nationalism. Since ancient times, emotionally we were okay, but when it comes to politics, even today also, for example, we are all Indians. But when it comes to water crisis, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, they will bitterly fight. So whenever resource sharing is coming, same as the Haryana, Punjab may bitterly fight for the water. Whenever resource sharing comes, this bitterly fight. But when it comes to India feeling, we are all Indians. We accept, there is no problem in that. But when it comes to day-to-day politics, we oppose the other side of the same territory, Indian territory. And why in Northeast, Manipur, Nagaland, and these different Assam with other neighboring states, always problem is coming. Even though we all accept we are all Indians, still in day-to-day life, whenever resource sharing comes, we used to fight. If this is the condition in 21st century, you imagine in those times what would have been the condition. That is why these areas also, in the provinces also, these kind of iron technology. Now come back to this. In 3rd century, iron technology. Gangetic Valley is the one which benefited out of this iron technology and agriculture practice. Because of iron and agriculture practice, they could raise more taxes, they got the more resources, and they expanded. Because of that, they expanded and other territories became part of Mauryan Empire. Now when Mauryan Empire became weak, and the same iron technology, agriculture technology, and other urban technologies entered into these areas also, they also felt enlightened. This knowledge helped them to create their own kingdoms also. They also learned how to maintain strong army. They also learned how to raise the taxes. They also learned how to improve the agriculture. They also learned how to utilize iron technology. When this knowledge is spread in those areas, they also felt they also can rule themselves. That is what same thing when Britishers were saying India cannot rule themselves, we Indians proved that we can rule ourselves. That's why we became independent. Africans also same is the case. Americans also same is the case. These colonies are like fruits. Till the time they are ripe, later they will fall automatically. So this knowledge, whatever the so-called modern ideals, they are saying, these ideals also entered into Indian subcontinent. And after some time, we Indians told to British that you need not to stay, we can rule ourselves because your rule is not equal. Either you treat equally or you leave us. Initially, we did not say independent. We were only saying dominion status. We don't have any problem with staying with the king. But we rule ourselves. You British go and you concentrate here. We Indians concentrate here. But we both are same. And this is the concept even in Commonwealth also. Commonwealth after independence also we were part of Commonwealth. Theoretically, this is the concept. But for all practical purpose, we are independent because we understood that if we have any attachment with the British, it is going against Indians only, it is not going to help. This is in modern times. In those times also same, when new knowledge enter into new area, those people also get how to rule. They get how to administer they know how to raise the taxes. They know how to improve the welfare policies of other people. When you create such infrastructure, when you create such structures, automatically people will believe in the local ruler than the distant ruler. That's how whenever a weak ruler comes here, the provincial kings become more powerful. You give this one, new knowledge in the outlying areas. This you need not to write. Now I am explaining. New knowledge in the outlying areas. New knowledge in the outlying areas. Yeah, write this. Magadha became successful. Magadha became successful because of its material advantage. Because of its material advantage. The knowledge like usage of iron technology, the knowledge of usage of iron technology, the ideas about raising taxes by expanding the agricultural base, and other ideas of administration. Other ideas of administration helped Magadha transforming from one of the small kingdoms to almost a pan-India empire. It was a very small kingdom initial days. Later it turned out to be pan-India empire. Next point. Once the knowledge of the use of these elements, of culture spread to central India, spread to Central India, Deccan, and Kalinga. As a result of Magadhan expansion, Magadha only expanded, it only brought these technologies and ideas to the new provinces. Expansion of Magadhan Empire. The Gangetic Basin lost its special advantage. Now you can compare with modern times also. Britishers and Europeans were very advanced comparing with North America, South America, Asia. And they brought new technologies and they conquered it. And after some time, the same technology is understood by these people also. And today we are more advanced than some of the European countries. Because we are building upon that and we are continuously improving. For example, space technology, latest example you can think. And we are much advanced than the so-called advanced economies of the world, Western European countries. The regular use of iron tools and weapons in the provinces coincided with the decline of Mauryan Empire. Coincided with the decline of Mauryan Empire. And as a result, new kingdoms emerged. New kingdoms emerged in different provinces. This is in this part. From here, it is getting controlling in Central India, Deccan also, and in eastern part, northwestern part. This side, now new knowledge, whatever knowledge earlier it was precious, now these areas also got, these areas became independent. Here, specific reference is required. This is the major trouble area. The neglect. Neglect of northwestern frontiers. Lost cause. Neglect of northwest frontier and Great Wall of China. Now this one. Now whatever causes we are going to see, this is universal. Till modern times, almost same factors. Now you say this. Geographically, if you observe this area, semi-arid area, semi-arid, steppes, grasslands. During Aryan migrations also, we understood the same causes. But at that time, we don't have, when these people are migrating and what is happening in this, we don't have any literary reference, only archaeological reference, Harappans, OCP people, black and red ware people, those people, archaeology. But now by this time period, we have so many literary references. Because many literary references were giving what is happening in the northwestern frontier. When it comes to migration of the Aryans, we don't have any literary reference. That is why it is becoming one of the controversial part in our history. Whether they came from outside, whether they are here only, that kind of problem emerged. But when it comes to post-Mauryan, there is no one denying that the people came from Central Asia. There is no denying factor because we have so many such references. When it comes to these areas, so many tribes, and this area was also come under so many tribes like Shakas, Kushanas. These were some of the tribes in this part of the central India. Now this area were different kingdoms. I will show you the maps.
That period, what impact did this Egypt, Libya have? Ottoman was not there. Then what empire was there at that time?
Which one? Which area?
Sir, this Egypt, Libya part.
Egypt, Libya. The successors of Alexander. The successor of Alexander, Seleucus Nicator. And here, Ptolemy. There was one ruler called Ptolemy Kingdoms. Those people were ruling that area.
Ptolemy the second one.
Yes.
So what was the name of his empire? Ptolemy?
I will show the map. You will have some idea this. These regions are same. Now also post-Mauryan also, post-Gupta also, then during early medieval time period, Turkish and Mughals. See here, we are in Mahajanapada time period. When it comes to Mahajanapada time period, you can have a look that Magadha, how small it was. Very small. This was the one. In 500 BC. And later, this turned gradually. Now by this time, now by 300 or by 200 BC, now all these small kingdoms were erased from the map of India. And all these became part of Mauryan Empire. Earlier, you can see these many small kingdoms were there. These kingdoms emerged because these people were having economic backup, agriculture backup, iron technology, economic backup, forest areas, weapons, everything. They were also enjoying. Now, when these areas became part of Magadha, Mauryan Empire gradually became very, very powerful. All these resources were utilized by single authority. And now, by the time weak rulers emerged, the same areas started utilizing the resources and they assumed independence. When it comes to this part also, Achaemenid Empire, it expanded. And after some time, Greeks emerged. This area always, on the other hand, Central Asian tribes. This area is so mixing area that this side India, this side Iran, and this side Central Asia. And moreover, this is the same area which connects with China also. If China wants to communicate with this part, it has to use the same area. That is why even today also, China-Pakistan economic corridor. Geographically, earlier it was part of Silk Road. Now it is also Silk Road, only in a modern form. And one sub-branch is China-Pakistan economic corridor. Only names are changing. But when it comes to this, it is like China-Gandhara Silk Road in those times. This area is so crucial for this part also, for us also. That is why always you will see the conflicts in this part. Now, Achaemenid Empire was expanding. After some time, Achaemenid Empire like this. You can see how big it became. It started somewhere at this point of time. And this is how Parisia emerged. The term Parisia was given to every part because it all began with this. For example, the name Bharat. Bharata was the tribe in early Vedic time period, a small tribal kingdom in Indus Plain. But now when it expanded, gradually the term Bharat became, entire India got the name Bharat. Similarly, Pershish is one small area, but it took the lead in expanding and it became Parisia later. Now this is the empire. Now you see how big. It controlled this Persian Gulf area, Iraq, today's Syria, Jerusalem, and Egypt, and this side Greek areas. And this side if you see Takshila, Gandhara, and this is Sindh area. And this is one of the richest provinces of entire this empire. You can see this. This is called 20th satrapy. 20th province of Persian Empire, Achaemenid Empire, the Sindh region. This is Indus Plain. This province they used to call as Hind. That is how the people beyond this area, gradually the term became Hindustan. Hind, because they used to call this area Hind, Hindustan it became. This is how by 400s, 300 BCs. Not 300 because 327 Alexander will come. Now you gradually see. This part, Greek kingdoms, they were also fighting like Magadha fighting with Mahajanapadas. Similarly, these people are also fighting amongst themselves. These people are also fighting amongst themselves, but Persia integrated. Later, Macedonia. It took the lead and Macedonia, it conquered all these territories. This is Alexander Empire. This is what the so-called Alexander the Great world conquest. And in 10 years, he conquered this territory. And this is the known world. And his main aim was to conquer India. Because from India, so many goods were going. So many stories were traveling to this part. At this part, Herodotus, the father of India, father of history, world history, and he has written about India also. Because at this time now you see, this is the barrier. Europeans cannot reach India. They have to cross Middle East. And only stories used to travel in this area. And about India, the people who were living in this part, they used to write the stories. And from here, they used to take the stories. Throughout history, same thing. And this enter here, this used to enter here, and this used to go to Europe. That is why the Indian story is gradually transformed into this area and gradually enter into the Europe. Europeans come to know about India through these routes only. Alexander also heard so many stories about India. After conquering this, he wanted to conquer India also. This is the Battle of Hydaspes on Jhelum River, where Alexander and Porus was fought. And later he could not cross and he came back. If you see these arrows, are you seeing these arrows? This is the arrow, this is the route where he conquered. He conquered, and he returned. Now you can see the arrow direction. He returned, and he returned. He died near Babylon. This is the location where Alexander died. Ambi. Ambi was the ruler who submitted to Alexander. Ambi and Alexander combinedly fought with Porus. This is after Alexander. Now we are in 320. Sorry, 333 BC, 323. Now in 323, after 323, this empire got disintegrated. It's like same thing. When Ashoka was there, entire empire was under single authority. After weak ruler come, now whenever weak ruler comes, this much empire no one can maintain. Same is the case, like in India also, so many languages are there, so many religions are there, so many cultures, customs are there. Now here already Persians were very, very powerful before the emergence of this empire. Naturally, these Persian peoples also looking for opportunity to overthrow this kingdom. Persian traditions are there, Greek traditions came, and local traditions, when it comes to India, here, Indian traditions, and here, Egyptian traditions, Egyptian civilization. When it comes to here, Mesopotamian civilization, now Persian civilization, Greek civilization, always intermixing is taking place. Now, whenever weak ruler there, these areas become separate later. And this is how, when after Alexander, this area became like this. Alexander Empire disintegrated. This is called Ptolemaic Kingdom. You asked, what is the name of this kingdom? This is the name. And when it comes to this, Seleucid Empire. And here, this king of Macedonia, this kingdom of Macedonia, and very small kingdoms. Do you see? So many small kingdoms emerged. But earlier, all these were part of Alexander Empire. That is going to happen. It is natural that whenever weak ruler comes, the entire territory becomes separate countries. And what we learned from today means, if we are not a strong central government, and our Indian territory also become like this, that we call balkanization of Indian subcontinent. Many Western scholars, after independence, they prophesied. So they were expecting that India will not stay as India for a very long time, because so many language-based problems are coming, under-development problems are coming, religion problem was there. In the name of religion, communalism was there. Already India, Pakistan, it became into two countries. The Western countries were expecting that once again India will split into multiple pieces. But because of the Indian constitution, we are able to survive after 75 years also, we are able to maintain unity, integrity of the country. But this is how, for any empire, even though this is one of the largest empires of this world, still if ruler is not strong, if we don't accommodate the regional diversity in the empire, this is what it is going to happen. Division. Whenever this Seleucid Empire came, this is where Mauryan Empire was building from this side. Chandragupta Maurya and Seleucid Empire fought. Finally, this area was given to Mauryan Empire. And this is where Megasthenes also come to the ambassador. After Mauryan Empire, now this is the one. Whenever you strongly hold this area, you can protect the invasions from this part, you can protect the invasions from this part. And if you neglect this area, these people want to expand, these people will migrate. And these migrations are not peaceful one, these are warriors. And this is what is going to become weakness for Mauryan Empire. Whoever neglected this area, they are going to face the consequences in the Gangetic Valley. Now these Seleucid Empire, once again broken into different pieces, many kingdoms emerged. We call them as Indo-Greek kingdoms. And these Indo-Greeks are going to pose threats to Mauryan Empire. After some time, these Central Asian tribes are going to pose threats to the Mauryan Empire. And combined force, before this, Indo-Greeks were very strong and they continuously expanded their territories. Hunas are contemporaries to Guptas. Now they are going to become later. They are going to become threat to Gupta Empire, Hunas. Shakas, now when Indo-Greeks were there, Shakas were living here. Now they are going to come down, down, down. By the time Indo-Greeks go there, and Shakas will reach here. That is why Indo-Greeks first, later Shakas will come. And now, after Shakas, Kushanas will come. At this point of time, Kushanas were living here. Now they are going to push these people down, and these people going to push down. And that is how first Shakas, later Kushanas will come. And from this side, Indo-Greeks, and here, this Seleucid Empire, before Seleucid Empire, Alexander Empire, before that Achaemenid Empire, that means the Parisians. And Parisians are going to overthrow the Seleucid Empire. Once again, Parisian Empire will come. And this empire, it is called Parthians. Parthians. So Parthian Empire is going to come. From Parthian side, one threat, Indo-Greeks one threat, and Central Asian one threat. And if you are not strong, you cannot control these threats, and these threats are going to become eminent, very serious, and finally it affects the empire. Now you say this. Seleucid Empire disintegrated, it became Greco-Bactrian kingdom. Greek people, now Scythia, these are called Shakas. When they come to Indian subcontinent, we call these Scythians as Shakas. And Greek Indo-Greeks, now Parthian kingdom. The erstwhile Parisian kingdom is emerging now once again. And Seleucid Empire is gradually weakening. Now this is what Parthian Empire. Once again, like Achaemenid Empire, Iranian Empire, this is once again the Parthian Empire is becoming once again powerful. Once again, Iran. And at this time, they are going to Zoroastrianism. It's going to become very strong. And after this, in the western side, the Roman Empire. On top of Alexander Empire, Roman Empire is going to become. Now you see this, Roman Empire is expanding. It started in Rome, Italy. Now it is expanding. Now you see, by 190 means post-Mauryan, 146 post-Mauryan, 70 BC post-Mauryan period, now 49 BC post-Mauryan, and 44 post-Mauryan. It is going to expand. In another 120 years, you are going to see a lot of changes in the Western Europe also. Earlier, these were part of Greek Empire. Now, it becomes a Roman Empire now. And this Roman Empire is going to become very powerful in the Western world. We Indians are going to trade with this Roman Empire. So when Mauryan, post-Mauryan developments are taking place that side, this is how the Western world is changing under Roman Empire. All right? Now, this part, the last factor, continue this. Since Ashoka, write few points. Since Ashoka was primarily preoccupied with missionary activities, since Ashoka was primarily preoccupied with missionary activities at home and abroad, he was unable to pay attention he was unable to pay attention to safeguarding the passes, like Khyber Pass in northwestern frontier. In northwestern frontier. The northwestern frontier is very sensitive area. The northwestern frontier is very sensitive area. This area has seen inflow of people from Iran and Central Asia. People from Iran and Central Asia. The Central Asian tribes were warrior-like people, They used to raid the neighboring areas. They used to raid the neighboring areas violently. Neighboring areas violently. In order to safeguard these rights, from these rights, Chinese rulers constructed the Great Wall of China. Chinese rulers constructed Great Wall of China. In about 220 BC. In about 220 BC. As a result of this wall, Scythians were pushed towards India. Scythians were pushed towards India and they became threat to the Mauryan Empire. They became threat to the Mauryan Empire. But Mauryans, it seems, unaware of these developments. Mauryans, it seems, were unaware of these developments. The Greeks had set up a kingdom in North Afghanistan. Shakas pushed the Greeks. Shakas pushed the Greeks and Greeks entered into the Gangetic Plain. Now you can see here, this was entire Mauryan Empire. And here, Indo-Greeks. Now here, Shakas. And they were going towards this side, they used to come this side also. But this side, Great Wall of China. Now these kingdoms protected from these attacks, and now they were repulsed. And they have to look for other alternatives, and their next target is this one. And Indo-Greeks were already here. Already Indo-Greeks have seen that here weak ruler is there. Now whenever weak ruler is there, this area becomes sensitive. The ruler cannot protect these boundaries and the Greeks wanted to expand. And they came up to Pataliputra also. In one of the raids, Indo-Greeks reached up to Pataliputra. And these Indo-Greeks in Indian literature were termed as Yavanas. Yavana? And this is the term used by, in Shunga time period, Patanjali was there. In Patanjali Mahabhashya, he mentioned Yavana. And in the literature, we are going to have references, what is happening in this part. And particularly from now onwards, we are going to get more and more resources, more and more evidences to reconstruct our Indian history properly. Mauryan time period itself, we got proper evidences. Now from this time period onwards, we are going to get even more evidences. And it is going to become more and more clear that what is happening outside India. Just have one mention. You make India small map because we need to show Northwestern and Central Asia more. This side. And you mention this Great China Wall. Shakas were going there, repulsed, and they pushed towards this side, and here Greeks were there. Now Greeks pushed this side, and here weak Mauryan rulers. When it comes to here, they were Parthians. So they here Shakas, here Greeks, here Parthians. And if we go back to this, we are in 200 BC. Romans rising. Sanju and Kanchan, are you able to follow this? Around 200 BC, what is happening? This is very, very crucial to understand later developments also. After Mauryans, we are just going to just repeat whatever we have seen up to now. Nadia and Das. Could you understand what is happening here? How Mauryan Empire became weak because of the neglect of northwestern frontiers. Yes, Das, these classes are regularly held. This is part of foundation course history. Hereafter, only the names are going to change, but the threat remains the same. After some time, we are going to see Kushanas. After some time, Hunas. After some time, Turks. Like these people are changing, and here these mixing also changes, and here also Parthians, Sasanians, then Islamic empires, caliphate will emerge. These Parthians are going to be replaced by Sasanians later, and these Sasanians are going to be replaced by caliphate. From this side caliphate, and from this side Turks, and that is how Turkish invasions will come. Like Indo-Greek invasions, Shaka invasions, later Huna invasions, later Turkish invasions. And after Turks, Mongols. Mongols are, we call in India, Mughals. Mongol invasions, and later these areas were Mughals, and these Mughals will enter here, Babur. Timurid. Actually, these areas, like from Mongols conquered all these territories when Delhi Sultanate was here. Same is the case. Mongol Chengiz Khan built a huge empire. Alexander also built a huge empire. What happened after Alexander? His successors did not rule same territory. His successors fought against themselves and they separated their empire. Same is the case with the Mongol Empire also. Later, Mongol Empire is also going to be divided. And this Central Asian Empire going to be ruled by a person called Timur. That dynasty name is Timurid dynasty. And Timurid dynasty and Mongol dynasty, the mixing of these two dynasties, Mughals. That is why Babur used to take the pride both in Timur also, both in Chengiz Khan also. That's how the Mughals have the lineage from both Timur and Mongol. Yes, father and mother side, the lineage traces to Timur. Timur is Central Asian based. Timur was a very great conqueror. After Chengiz Khan, Timur is considered as one of the great conqueror because again he used to see this warrior. Now you have to see this. Only names are changing. Only names are changing, but the character of the people remains the same. Whenever this area resources are limited and they have to see the alternative, whenever they are going to see the alternative, one is utilizing the full resources within the area Central Asia, and if sufficient resources are not available, they look for the neighboring areas. Either they go peacefully migration, and if peaceful migration is not sufficient or if peaceful migration is not possible, then only invasion is the other. And in ancient times, invasions is very, very common. Today, this is what, particularly after Second World War, we all understood that wars are not going to be the solution. In those times, wars are limited only to the frontiers. People from army, soldiers from this side only got killed. But if war happens between this area and this area now, it's not only murders and killings are not restricted to the only soldiers, but to the entire population. Because the kind of technology, the kind of weapons, the kind of missiles we are using are different. Nuclear technology is different. The chemical weapons are different. Biological weapons are different. It's not. First World War and Second World War has shown us that whenever war comes, the disasters are not going to be limited to the frontiers alone. It is going to affect every part of the globe. That is what we call First World War and Second World War. If any Third World War comes, we don't know whether humanity will exist or not. That is the kind of threat. But in those times, wars and battles are very common, but the deaths are resulting only near the frontiers. It will not affect the interior people, it will not affect interior people. Only near the borders. That is why so many wars and battles continuously throughout our history we have seen. Only people will keep changing, but the remain threats are same. This is what we call geostrategic positions. Strategic position. Sometimes in international relations, you used to see this term, geostrategic locations, because this geography has certain strategic value. If you control this, you will control this area. For example, Malacca Strait. Malacca Strait is geostrategically very, very significant. If you control Malacca Strait, it affects the oil movement. If you control Indian Ocean, you can control Indian subcontinent. That is why we are very, very cautious about if China is building naval bases in Sri Lanka and Pakistan, neighboring Bangladesh, Myanmar. Because it is our neighbor. If something happens, if army comes here, if army comes this side, if army comes down near Sri Lanka, and how much time it takes to invade the mainland of India? Initially, they are going to come as companies only. And history has taught, East India Company is a company, French East India Company, Dutch East India Company, Portuguese companies, they only came with ships. First ships will come, later military will come. That is why when ships come, at this time period itself, we should be alert. Once it reaches this stage, it becomes very difficult to solve the problem. Only wars and battles only the real solution. And at this point of time, diplomacy possible. And at this time also, diplomacy has to be there. But it goes out of hand if we don't deal it properly. Oh. Chabi? All right. After this time period, we are going to see the different names only, but stories remains the same. You should not have any confusion when we are going to talk about Hunas, when it comes to Guptas, when we are going to talk about establishment of Delhi Sultanate, Turkish people. You should not have any doubt about this geography. That is why to understand our history, particularly ancient and medieval history, understanding this geography is very, very crucial. Whatever is happening in this location, this affects Indian subcontinent. Even today also, we are very much worried about in this location. In Mauryan time period, there were people called Greeks. But in 2023, there were people called Afghanistan. Only name is changing, but location remains the same only. And if something happens here, it affects here. And we have seen in 1999, already we have seen what happened. Kandahar hijack. Kargil war is one thing. Another one, here these people utilized the weakness in this administration. They hijacked one plane and they have taken to this location. So we have to release the terrorists to bring back our citizen. So this is the modern way of threats. The same geography, but threat is changing. Names of the people are changing. We are calling Indians, we are calling Afghanistan, Pakistan. You just remove these names, this geographic location, and this geographic location. That's why we must be very, very alert. It's not about Kashmir issue alone. If Kashmir is occupied by Pakistan, it will not stop there, and they will come to the next Punjab region, they will come to the next Haryana region, then Delhi. Yes, so this is the expansion, the attitude of expansionism. If you give little weight and they want some more also. That's why if China creates trouble here, we should stop here itself. We should not give any chance. And once their army comes this location and the next point of struggle is going to be this point. It's not going to solve the dispute. It is going to enhance the dispute. And this area, we even don't know that this area was taken by China. Because that time we don't have satellite imagery, so we don't have technology. That's why we even don't know. Our military also don't know, our intelligence also don't know that unless they were building the roads in this territory. Now, did it solve the problem? No. It now creating the trouble in the next frontier. And once it reaches there, now it starts the frontier. Same is the case with Pakistan also. It is not going to solve. We should always stop the problem in the beginning itself. Otherwise, it's only continuous, ever continuous problem. Our history, our own history is teaching us this is what we have to learn. Sometimes we should be strong enough to stop this problem because our history taught multiple times. It is not once or twice. Continuously it is teaching us, be careful with this part, otherwise it affects the Indian subcontinent. And if we don't learn lessons, again we are going to repeat the same mistake. That is what our history gives the lesson. Definitely. Exactly. Now, very good. Now, this time Mauryan Empire was there. Now, when Kalinga becomes separate country, separate kingdom, Satavahanas become separate kingdom, Shungas become separate kingdom, Northwest becomes separate kingdom. It emboldened the other weakening spots and it emboldened the neighboring countries to involve in the local internal affairs. The moment, because once one country, one area becomes separate, our entire focus, military, intelligence, army, everything resource goes attention towards that particular area. Meanwhile, the neighboring countries will create trouble in the other end of the territory. Now, the moment we go there, again, this problem intensifies, this problem we lose, this area also we lose, this area also we lose. Again, same thing happened during Humayun time period also. He was having trouble in Bihar region, he was having trouble in Madhya Pradesh region. And to which area he has to protect? First, he will go run. He will run towards Bihar. He did not solve it. And meanwhile, he got the problem in Madhya Pradesh. He came back. And the moment he solved the problem in Madhya Pradesh, Bihar he lost. And now, meanwhile, Northwest, his own brother is creating trouble. Now, meanwhile, he went to Delhi, Agra to solve the problem, and he lost the Malwa also. So that is how once one trouble comes in one area, it automatically spiral into other parts also. We should be very, very alert. This is what in internal security in GS3 also you are going to use this same language. Why we are very much worried about our borders means this is the reason. It is not going to solve the problem if we lose some territory. It is just going to increase further. That's why we should stop this problem in the beginning stage itself. Today we are calling the China, Pakistan, India. Names are changing. It's only about the territory. And the people whoever residing here, they want, for example, you think Pakistan is facing the trouble now economically. Economically, the common people are reeling. This is what happened throughout history. When king was there, kings used to reside in huge palaces. They enjoy the resources and common people suffer. And when it comes to king, the immediate powerful wing is army and police department. And through these forces only king maintains law and order in the kingdom. But now there is no king. We are calling them as democracy only. Politics, the state. Again, these two, army and police, they are remain the same. From common people, resource will go to the state. That time king was enjoying the resources. Now whoever is controlling the state machinery, they are enjoying the resources. Most of these resources are going to these two departments. If there is any law and order problem, these two institutions will become powerful, army and police. Whatever resources they are used for maintaining law and order, army and police, most of the resources go there. As a result, common people will suffer further. At one point of time, you will find revolt against the own police, own army. Throughout history, same thing. Now, when it comes to Mauryan Empire also, one of the army general only killed the king. Brihadrada, when it comes to, now this is what happening. Brihadrada was the king. And army, the head of the army is Pushyamitra Shunga. And he killed Brihadrada and he started a new dynasty called Shunga dynasty. In those times, it is very common. But again, unless there is a problem within the empire, this is not possible. Otherwise, people will revolt against the new dynasty. People will not keep silent. Some people who support the old king will be there and they will hatch conspiracy against the new king and they will overthrow it. That is going to happen. But probably, when it comes to Mauryan Empire, in the last days of the Mauryan Empire, this problem is arising. Internal problem is arising, law and order problem must be arising. In those circumstances, army general himself, it is like in the modern form of coup. When the politics are not able to solve the problem of common, military will overtake the. In Pakistan, many times happened. Military overtake the state. This is what, in those times, it was called new dynasty. And in the modern time, we call coup. Pakistan has seen this. Myanmar has seen this. And when it comes to West Asia, it is very common. Same kind of this military coup. And it is very, very, very strange for the Western people that we are in this South Asian zone where military coups and this kind of, now you see this mindset, military takeover is the mindset of the medieval and ancient medieval. But a coup is not something that if you have problem with the democratic setup, you should conduct the elections and you give the chance to the next ruler. If you have the problem, only democracy should be the solution. Army takeover is not the solution. If you want to take over, that means this shows the medieval mindset. Because in medieval times and ancient times, this was the common practice. And that is what we call constitutionalism. Constitution, Pakistan also has the constitution, India also constitution, but whether we are following the constitution in spirit or not. This is where the strict separation of state and army comes. If army enters into the politics, only military becomes very powerful. Once military becomes powerful, the ultimate disaster is going to be wars and battles. So that is why, suppose now Pakistan, now whenever economic problem is there, people will revolt against their own state. Army and police become more powerful. Once army takes over, the immediate effect is going to be the neighboring country only. When military take over, most probably the wars will take place with the neighboring country. Because to divert the attention of the common public and for common people, army always say that there is a threat to the state, there is threat to the kingdom in medieval times. In the name of protecting the kingdom, they used to kill their own people. Same is going to happen here also. Pakistan has seen multiple times. And now also it is in the danger of the same problem. Pakistan is facing a lot of military crisis. Assassinations. Assassination is nothing but killing the king. The modern day is king, simply the state authority lies in the king hand. Now the state authority lies in the hands of politicians. And whoever become politician, now state authority is in your hand. If army becomes powerful, they used to hatch conspiracies against the state authority. That affects not only the people who are residing in the geographic location, but also the neighboring countries. That is why we were very, very much careful about the happenings in Afghanistan and Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, any country, neighboring country. Because immediately it affects. In Bangladesh, in Myanmar, something is happening. Rohingyas, they are coming towards India as refugees. It creates additional problem. When civil war took place in Bangladesh, more than 1 crore population came towards India. Already India is suffering under poverty in 1971. But again, we have to take care of the Bangladeshi people also. When Sri Lanka civil war was going on, many Tamil refugees came. And they will not reside in India peacefully. And they will conspire against Sri Lanka. And it creates a terrorist problem. It creates a law and order problem for the country. So this is why this geography is very, very crucial. Whatever happened earlier, whatever is happening today also has some resonance. Be careful with understanding this. If you have any doubt, you please ask me in subsequent classes also. Wherever you get any doubt with respect to this. The story is going to be the same, whether it is 2200 BC or 2000 AD. Only names of the people will change, the threat remains the same, and we get the solutions also from the history. In how we came out of this crisis also. It should be strong military also, strong administration also, strong technology also, stability also should be there. Then only we can protect our borders. Internally, we should, that is why Ashoka propagated Dhamma. He has some problems outside also. If he has some problems within, inside, he cannot concentrate on the outside world. So that is why we should always be careful in understanding the threats from outside, threats from inside. These are various causes for the decline of Mauryans. On the demise of Mauryan Empire, many kingdoms are going to come. That chapter is going to be post-Mauryan time period. That time period we will call 200 BC to 300 AD, till the time period of Guptas. Online students, all right? Clear up to here? Tomorrow we will continue post-Mauryan chapter. Okay? In post-Mauryan, Karavelas, Shungas, Shatavahanas, Indo-Greeks, many will come. and Sangam kingdoms are there. But as part of Sangam age, we will deal all of them in single way. Yes, definitely Das. Ashokan Dhamma had political motive, definitely. And UPSC has even asked also, politically, in order to maintain the stability of the state, Dhamma helped him. So it has political motive also. As a ruler, any ruler see law and order should be maintained so that he will not face the problem. Dhamma is one such. Okay, tomorrow we will continue. If you have any doubts, you please ask in tomorrow class.